It's also kind of foolish, right? Like, it's not the right way to build a startup. You're supposed to do research. You're supposed to think things through. I just said, nope, I'm going to do this. Algorithms are optimized to make money, but they do it at the expense of your mental health.
Yeah.
I'd love to live in a world where, the smartest founders just get assigned the most difficult problems and they don't have to worry about money, and society values their thought process, right? It's funny that we wouldn't take candy from a stranger, but we'll consume content from random
anyone.
people.
Yeah, from
anyone, right? You have to be kind of crazy to be a founder,
Fair.
right? Why would anybody voluntarily put themselves through this?
Welcome to Amplified, Hub71's flagship podcast, where we go beyond the headlines and get real about the startup grind. I'm Sarah Hamedi, and I lead on Hub71's social media. So if you see us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, follow us at Hub71AD. It is me and the team. So today's episode tackles a great big bold question. Can a news app actually improve your mental health? It almost sounds too good to be true, especially when 7 out of 10 people actually suffer from anxiety, especially if they're using their phone a lot and they're constantly on the news app. And these days, the news isn't just traditionally on the news anymore. We know that. It's the first thing you see on your feed on Instagram. It's being green screened by somebody on TikTok. But what if the news could do the opposite? What if it could heal, uplift, and empower? We're joined by someone who is reimagining the news as a force for good. Muhammad Lila, CEO and founder of Goodable. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm going to tell you something that I probably shouldn't, but I've been looking forward to this all week.
Yay!
Yeah.
No, I'm glad. That's great. That's my positive tick for the morning. Other than what I did see on Goodable this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm flattered.
I think it was an artist putting together finding 14,000 pieces of a piece of art. It was something similar to that, and I was thinking, wow, that is really cool, and also subhanallah that they found like all of them.
The small little bursts of joy that we can bring into people's lives are what keep me going. So when I hear feedback like this from you, it just gives me more conviction that what we're doing is good for the world and necessary, and we're going to keep growing as big as we can.
Inshallah. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. I want us to start with kind of how you started. You used to be a war zone journalist. You've seen some unbelievable things. And the fact that I think you're also the founder of Goodable is such a huge, the opposites of it is extraordinary. So how did you feel at that time when you were a war zone journalist with all of the chaos that you were surrounded with? And at what point did you know in your own heart that you were like, okay, we need to make a change?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the big picture, if you spend part of your life causing cancer and you have an option to spend the rest of your life curing cancer,
Mm-hmm.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so as much as it's sort of a shift from like one extreme to the other, it's also very natural, because if you're part of a problem and you have the chance to be part of a solution, most people would rather be part of the solution, and that's what we see ourselves doing. But for context, I averaged more than 100 flights a year covering the world's most dangerous places.
Wow.
Almost any dangerous place you can think of, I've been there. And I've been there so many times that I can give you the best restaurant recommendations for anywhere. So if you're in downtown Kabul, I can tell you where to get the best Kabuli pilau. Authentic, homemade, from Auntie's kitchen. I can do that in almost all of these places. I would travel so much covering quote unquote bad places that I would wake up in the morning and not even remember what city I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to look out the window to remember, oh, that's right, I forgot. I'm in southern Turkey. I'm in Gaziantep, or I'm in Erbil, or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And I did it because I believe that journalism, the ideal of journalism is to hold up a mirror to society and say, this is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in that. I believe that we need people playing that role. the problem is that journalism today is not a mirror that's accurate anymore. It's like, some people know this in the movies, or when you were a kid, you'd go to these amusement parks and they would have like a hall of mirrors, but the mirrors would be distorted.
Mm-hmm.
So you look in one mirror, you're short. You look in
Yeah.
one mirror, you're tall.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that 95% of everything that you see on the news is negative. But let me ask you a question. Do you believe there's more good in the world than bad?
Yes.
You do. So, and
Yeah.
you didn't even hesitate, right?
I'm a hopeful person.
So everybody that I ask, do you believe there's more good in the world than bad? Every single person says, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's right. I think there is more good in the world than bad. So if there is, why is it that 95% of what we see on the news is negative? And I'm not saying that bad things don't happen. I get it. They do. And you need to see them. But that mirror that we're supposed to be looking at is completely distorted now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to see us as humanity for who we are, we need to see both our bad and our good. We need to see our potential to harm people, but we also need to see that human beings are capable of incredible things: generosity and bravery and giving and saving lives and creating cures for cancer. Like that, to me, that defines humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's our potential. And in my life as a war zone correspondent, I just realized that nobody was showing this. And Goodable started because it had to be built. I know that there are a lot of founders that go through this process where they interview customers and users and they do product research and they talk to investors before they start building. And I was just like, no, it's the most obvious thing in the world.
Yeah.
If news is causing depression on a global scale, why can't we harness that same mechanism to cure depression instead? And I didn't do any user research. I just knew that this is the most obvious thing in the world. Let's go out and do it. And that's how it started.
Wow. That is really inspirational.
It's also kind of foolish, right? Like, it's not the right way to build a startup. You're supposed to do research. You're supposed to think things through. I just said, nope, I'm going to do this. Like, maybe I was stubborn. I was definitely naive because I didn't know anything about the world of startups. But I just knew in my heart that this is something that the world needs.
Yeah.
And nobody was doing it. And so I would have loved if somebody else was doing it. I would have asked them to hire me. And nobody was. And I said, well, okay, if it's going to be me, it's going to be me. And let's do it. And that's what happened.
I have so much respect for your prior job, mostly because I also was in journalism, but we were on opposite ends of the spectrum. When I was like covering things that were a lot more fashion and lifestyle, maybe towards young women, I love that I was helping out young women in the best way that I can. But now, as I'm also such a social media person, I know it's such a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I can say this with my chest. I love TikTok, but the way that my focus has shortened just because of the app, the way that the first thing I'll see in the morning could be something negative, and that just puts the rest of my day onto like a downward spiral. So it makes sense. Goodable makes sense. And I think people might have tried to do their own version of what you're saying, in the sense of when you take social media to share some good news, but then there's still the hatefulness of others, or influencers doing what could be classed as like false positivity.
Yeah.
You're bringing actual stories from the world about actual people.
Yeah. You know, the biggest danger with all the social media platforms, and it's not even social media, it's literally everything. It's that they're controlled by algorithms.
Yeah.
And so we no longer have any agency. We think that we're viewing or watching what we want to watch.
Yeah.
But actually that's not true. We're watching it because we're being fed that content, right? So when you're swiping up on TikTok, you're not choosing what the next video is. It's giving it to you, right? And so an average person, I'm not sure about this part of the world, but I know in North America, an average person spends like 8 hours a day looking at a screen. Like it's just insane, right? We work on screens, we live on screens, we play on screens, people date on screens, they fight on screens. Like, you live your life on screens. And everything that you see on a screen comes to you from an algorithm. Even like your emails, right? Your Pinterest, your YouTube, all this stuff is by algorithms. And the algorithms are optimized to make money, but they do it at the expense of your mental health.
Yeah.
So it's actually not free. You're paying for that algorithm with your mental health, because there's a direct connection between the amount of time you spend consuming algorithm content and the state of your mental health. And so 20 years ago, we as human beings were much healthier than we are now. Like the numbers used to say that A person, 20% of all people could be expected to have a mental health struggle at some point in their lives. So maybe you're 20 years old, you won't have a struggle until you're 60.
Yeah.
And only 1 out of every 5 people would have that. Today, 40% of everyone in the world has a mental health struggle.
Wow.
Right? And it's not potential like, oh, this might happen. No, it's happening right now. And a lot of this is because of these algorithms. And when you ask people like, well, why do we put up with these algorithms? Everybody kind of just shrugs their shoulders and they're like, well, that's just the way it has to be. And what we said at Goodable was, why? Why does it have to be that way? Why can't we build something better? Why can't we build algorithms that make you smarter or happier or healthier or more productive? Why do the algorithms have to just make you miserable all the time? And people look at us from the outside and they think we're a media company, but the truth is we're not, and we never have been. We're very much a technology company, and we're a wellness and behavioral change platform. And by that I mean consuming content on your feed can change your mental health. So in that sense, TikTok's not even like a media platform. It's behavioral change. It's programming you. And we just said, let's just use that same power to help people live happier lives. And all your feedback is so heartwarming, because I'm like, wow, we're making a difference in the world. It makes me feel good.
I think just the fact that you had the thought is the first step of making a difference. Because sometimes I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as humans that we have to do something and we have to accomplish this and we have to, when it's really like, maybe this is very, very Gen Z of me, but I really keep in touch with the fact that my life's purpose is kind of to be a human, to let it happen, to be happy and to feel it and to kind of, keep going with it. So I always say that wherever you were, just even doing your notes on your first thought about Goodable as an app, you should be proud of. That's
Thank you. I'm humbled. I actually, this is one of the things that I don't like about being a tech founder is I really wish that we could free up the world's greatest minds to solve the world's greatest problems. I see so many brilliant people out there building startups that are not changing the world, right? Like, how many different versions of like AI agents that can do your accounting are there? Hundreds, right? And they're being led by very smart people. And I was like, you know what? If you removed the pressure of like growing a venture-backed scalable company and you just gave that person a blank check and said, you're such a smart person, go and solve poverty, right? Go and solve clean water. Like some of the pressing issues of our time. I'd love to live in a world where the smartest founders just get assigned the most difficult problems and they don't have to worry about money, and society values their thought process, right? But hopefully we can be part of a solution and a movement that solves at least our small piece of the puzzle.
On the bright side, I think our younger generations, they'll be very acclimated to tech as just tech as the broader word, tech as in learning it, tech as in wanting to be in the industry, but also in a very positive way, I hope. It's, again, I measure it out, the fact like they're constantly surrounded by screens. I'm like, are you going to grow up just like normally on a screen? Like, are you going to grow up well? But then again, will that change? Will you want to then put your great mind to use and do well? I
think that the fact that we live our lives on screens, I don't think that will change. I think it's just who we are now as people. The question is like, who controls what you consume, right? And it's actually very dangerous to allow, I grew up in Canada where we had Halloween and you'd go trick-or-treating. And the rule was that you would never take candy from somebody who you didn't know.
Yeah.
So like if there are people on your street and you go trick-or-treating, you know them, they're your neighbors. But you'd never take candy from like some random dude who's just walking down the street, right? And the reason why is you don't know what's in that candy. And growing up, you hear these like nightmare stories of like kids getting poisoned or whatever, right? And so it's funny that we wouldn't take candy from a stranger, but we'll consume content from random
anyone.
people.
Yeah, from
anyone, right? And the effect of that content that you consume, it's actually worse than candy because the candy will eventually cycle out your system. It'll cause a little bit of damage and then you can heal. But when you look at something on a screen, it's imprinted in your brain forever. That image will never leave your brain, right? And so why is it okay to, why do we understand that with food? But when it comes to the content we consume, it's like, oh no, some dude who made an algorithm that makes me want to see like all the bad things in the world, like I can just keep consuming that. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Do you think, and this is just an out of curiosity question, do you think that an increased sense of self-awareness helps? Because I don't believe that social media will essentially kind of go away, or like as we said, being on our screens is here to stay, whether we like it or not. But do you think that to an extent, if we're mentally putting ourselves in the place where we know, okay, this is not being posted by someone trustworthy, it helps out?
Yeah, so I think you're right, and I think we're at the beginning, not the beginning, we're probably like past the beginning of a big shift that's happened in society where think about like the healthy eating movement. It's been around for a long time, but it only really became mainstream maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So you go to the supermarket now, you'll see an entire gluten-free section or sugar-free section or, you know, like free from section, right? That you see here in Abu Dhabi. And that's because people have made a choice and they choose to live a healthy lifestyle. And that means cutting out foods that are bad for you. The next evolution of that is going to be what you consume for your brain. And people are making that choice, and younger people are making that choice because they have that choice. When I grew up, I didn't have that choice. I had to watch whatever was available.
Yeah.
Facebook was still very new, but the younger generation has a choice, and more people will start to realize that the content they consume is bad for them. In fact, 41% of all people actively avoid the news. That's a historic level. It's never been 41% of people. It's always like, you know, the one guy in the room that just, now it's 41%. And if you ask those people why, the number one reason they give is because it puts them in a bad mood. So there is self-awareness. People are realizing that, hey, if something puts me in a bad mood, I don't need to put up with it. It's like if you have a friend that's just, we've all probably had friends like this in our lives, right? They're just a downer. Every time you're around them, it's like, oh man, is he complaining again? How many times do I have to hear the story about how he lost all his money at the casino? Like, you know, you don't want to be around people like that.
Yeah.
And so in real life, you'd probably stop being friends with the person, right? You'd be like, you kind of just gravitate away. And so that's what our content feeds kind of are, right? It's like, if you just have this influence on you that's negative, remove that influence and see what happens. And so I have hope actually that people are making that choice to consume healthier content.
Do you think that traditional media plays a big role in this, and kind of the fact that, I mean, it's all going to get filtered down to our social media platforms, but we're talking just like when your dad comes home and plays the news immediately. Do we think that they play a big role?
I think less and less. I really do. I think the days of, you know, one media platform, like insert whatever media platform you want, New York Times, BBC, CNN, you know, any Al Jazeera, like whatever. I think the days of them being, they will always be relevant, but less and less so, because they all started during an era where access to information was difficult. We live in an era now that's the complete opposite.
Yeah, but we have too much access.
We have too much. We don't know how to process all this information, right? So all these people that talk about disinformation and fake news, it's actually not disinformation. It's just that we have so much information now that we can say, oh, well, why are you telling me this when this also happened, right? And we know that because we just have access to all these things. So I think those days of, quote, traditional media, they're just becoming less and less relevant. And whether that's good or bad, I can't say. But I think the result of that is that it's a dismantling of the way that information is brought to us. So, you know, there used to be like, say maybe 5 or 10 main ways that information came to us. Now there's hundreds of thousands, right? And so information is coming to us from we're just getting bombarded all the time. And those legacy or mainstream institutions are just going to be one of those hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the main players anymore.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're getting bombarded. I feel like we are constantly overstimulated through our phones, through our laptops, whatever it is. I actually want to go back to Goodable because I do have a very interesting question. Is there any user stories or feedback from the app that has really, really stayed with you?
Yeah. Okay, every time I tell the story, I get emotional and I cry. So I'm going to try to tell us now. I'm not going to cry, but please forgive me if I do, because
No, it's okay. The problem is you're really sat with a crier.
Yeah.
The moderator is also a crier, but we can cry together. I'm happy for
I
that.
tell myself all the time, like, keep it together, Mohammed. It's just a story, but it's really touching to me. So, we got an email or a DM from a woman in Colombia, the country, and she started by saying, "Listen, you don't know me, but I need you to know that you're doing so much more than you think you are." And she wrote this heart-pouring email where she said, I live in Colombia. I forget the town, but it was like a small town. She's like, I live in the small town. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and inflation is so high I can't afford food. It's not safe to go outside. I can't stay inside because I have to support my daughter. And, society is crumbling all around me. And I was walking to a bridge. And she said, I don't know how, but somehow somebody sent me something from Goodable. And it was a video. I know which video it was, actually. It was a video that we had posted about a young boy somewhere in South America. And they have a tradition where when it's your birthday, the first slice of cake is supposed to go to the person you love the most.
Yes. Yeah.
And the guy's sister was crying in the other room. So he took the first slice of cake and he brought it to her and he gave her a hug and he said, "This is for you." And so she said, when I saw that video, I cried for the first time in as long as I can remember. And it gave me hope that life is worth living. And she said, I turned around and I went back home to my daughter. And every morning ever since, the first thing that I do is I check Goodable. So thank you for what you do. And we have a lot of user feedback and testimonial that's really, really good. We have psychologists and therapists and celebrities and authors. And I think at one point, like, every cast member of the Avengers was following Goodable on social media. I don't remember any of their testimonials. I just remember this one woman. And I think to myself, that's one woman who's still alive today because of us. I want there to be millions of people who are alive today because of Goodable. I want to give people hope when they feel like they don't have any. And the truth is, life sucks. It's hard. It's really hard. But all it takes to save one person is to say, you know what, it's going to be okay. Like, yeah, life is stuff we all get, but it's going to be okay. I want to be that person. I said I wasn't going to cry, but
no, the story
I
was
wrote down, but
really beautiful. And I'm
that's the one story
shocked.
that I always think about. If I can meet that woman, I just give her a big hug or something, and I just say, what I would say is, I would say, you don't know this, but you did so much more for me than you thought you did. And that's what I would tell her. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
That was a beautiful story. And I'm sure you are both as eternally thankful to each other as you probably think, because it's also not easy being a founder.
No.
And I know that for a fact. Working at Hub71, life is hard. A founder's life is also really hard. So I'm sure that gave you the strength to want to continue on this mission that you've kind of built, and it's a beautiful mission.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, like, stuff like that doesn't mean that we're going to be successful, right? It doesn't mean that, like, as a company, because we have all this, like, we have great user feedback, that means we're guaranteed to be a great company. Like, you still have to do all this really hard work, right? But the question is, like, I think the question about why is so important for a founder. Why do you do it? I do it for people like her. I do it because I have a chip on my shoulder. I do it because I need to be the best at what I do. I often say that if I lost my job and I became like a janitor somewhere, within 6 months, I'd be the best janitor in the building. I have to be the best at what I do. It's something in me where I can't not work hard. And so it's great to say like we have a good mission and we're trying to change the world, which we are, but it doesn't change the work we have to do. We still have to work harder than everybody else to make it come to life. And I think that's like you said, right? Like that's the unknown.
Would you say you're an overachiever?
No, I haven't done 1% of the things that I want to do in life. I'd say I'm a chronic underachiever. There's so much more that I could do. There's so much more that like I want to do that I haven't done yet. So no, I don't think I'm an overachiever. I have a relentless work ethic where like I have to.
That's why I asked that. I can tell that you're so ready to go beyond and even further and further and further, which I find so admirable.
I think a lot of founders are like this. I think founders have to be like this. Like you have to be kind of crazy to be a founder.
Fair.
Right? like, you know, why would anybody voluntarily put themselves through this? Right? And like, why not just get a regular 9-to-5 job, right? You have a steady paycheck, you have like a pension when you retire, you have all this nice stuff, you have benefits, like, and I think that's the reason why most people aren't founders is because most people aren't crazy. Most people don't have this, like, I don't know if it's recklessness or what, but maybe it's stubbornness, right? That I just feel that, like, leaving aside the fact that we're doing something that's very important for the world, I need to be right. Like, I need for people to see, oh, you know what, he was right all along. And that's what drives me, is I need to prove that I was right. And it sounds petty.
I think you've done crazier. So
I have done crazier. Yeah, that's true. But you know what? There are days, I tell my team this all the time, right? In the startup world, you don't know where the threats are, right? The threats could be inside your own company. They could be from investors. They could be like, you just don't know.
Yeah. Since we're on startup talk, which I'm so glad we circled this way, let's talk about the grind. So you're building a tech company in a space dominated by negativity and clickbait, which, you know, we laid out that map for. What were some of your biggest earlier challenges, and did people dismiss the idea as too soft or not serious enough?
Yeah. So the answer is yes. People think that, like, and they still think this, right? They're like, oh, so Goodable is just this platform that shares like cute animal videos and whatever. And it's like, it's really hard for us to convince people that, no, that's not who we are.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is, the problem is that, you know, everybody hates the news. Nobody likes it. Nobody says, oh, I love the news. Because by its very nature, it's like controversial and it's designed to be like sensational and make you combative and stuff. So nobody enjoys it. And the moment they say, oh, well, there's this news platform that does good news, they're like, oh, they must just not really be news. And the truth is, actually, we do everything by algorithms. I wish I could show people what our algorithms were. They're the most advanced algorithms for defining like what is healthy content to consume that I've ever seen, that I've ever built. Like, we've trained our algorithms over tens of millions of data points, right? It's not a small thing that we did. And getting people to understand this is very, very hard. I have conversations with investors. I'll spend an hour with the investor saying, look, here's why we're not a media company. It's algorithms, it's AI, it's behavioral change. And at the end, you know, you get an email saying, thanks, we don't invest in media. And I'm like, did you not hear what I said for the last, did you not hear what I said for the last hour? Like, explaining the technology behind it. That's our biggest struggle, is that people can't see beyond me. And so they look at me and they're like, oh, well, he's a media guy, so therefore the only thing he can build is a media company. And it's funny because investors are the ones that are supposed to be forward thinking, and you're supposed to be able to think outside the box to find the right deals. But when it comes to me, oh, there's no way he could build a tech platform. There's no way he could do anything with AI because he's only a media guy, and media people can only build media companies. And breaking out of that stereotype is really hard for me.
Yeah.
Because no matter what I do, they're going to Google my name and they're going to see me reporting on television and they're going to think, oh, this guy, the only thing he can build is media. And that's the hardest thing for me. And even if you're not a founder, I think everybody goes through this in life. right? Where it's like people see you as one thing and you're trying to say, no, I'm something else.
Yeah.
You see me as like, you know, a bench player, but I feel like I'm a star. And then what happens? They get traded or whatever, and then they become a star. And everybody looks back and they're like, oh, do you remember when that guy was a bench player? And the person would say, no, I was never meant to be on the bench. I was good enough to be a star. And I think there's that aspect of me where it's like, I wish people could see the technology that we've built. And it's really hard to get them to see that.
I understand. It's, yeah, the stereotype thing. I kind of get what you mean. And a lot of startups chase growth at any cost.
Yeah.
Goodable is chasing impact. How do you balance the two?
We're chasing growth. We're absolutely chasing growth. Our growth happened organically. So when I was still at CNN, I think I was averaging around 200,000 impressions per month, maybe a little bit more just on my own social channels. When I left and I started sharing positive content, I grew to 4 million within a year. And the next year we were at 40 million. And then Goodable surpassed 100 million impressions per month. And for those people that are listening or watching, an impression is every time your content appears on a screen and is seen by one person.
Yeah.
So if there was a television on here right now and we had Goodable on the screen, there's, I don't know, 5 or 6 people in the room, that would be 6 impressions. So we generate more than 100 million impressions per month.
Wow.
With some of our latest partnerships, we've lost count. We can't track that because our biggest partner is Yahoo, which has 600 million users per month. Like how do you track that, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't know. So we didn't chase growth. We actually, we knew that world. We knew how, I think one of my specific skills and even superpowers is getting people to care about something that they don't know about. And this is what you learn as a journalist.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm in some far-flung corner of the world. How do I get people to care about this? Right? And I had to do it in 1 minute and 30 seconds when I was live on television. So I got really good at making people care. And so that was easy for us. And so we built this big audience before we even built a product. And so we didn't have to chase growth. The growth kind of just happened very organically. And people would, like there are some platforms, we went viral on them so much that we're banned from those platforms. But the point is like, we didn't chase it. It was like, you know, if you make somebody happy, they want to make somebody else happy. So there's a natural virality component, right? Where something makes you feel good, you're going to share it. And if it made that person feel good, they're going to share it. And that's what happened with us. So we built a community. And there's a concept in the startup world called community-driven startups. We built a community before we even launched a product. And so we didn't chase growth at all costs. Now, that being said, we absolutely still have to monetize. We absolutely still have to hit venture scalable traction. We have to grow. We have to, you know, like 10x our revenue every year. All of those things. We're very committed to doing that. We have an advantage because our distribution channel is massive. And we've done studies that show that 4% of all Americans have heard about Goodable.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, it's a vanity metric, but it's nice, right? Because we're so young and, you know, there's a lot of things Americans don't know about, right? But if 4% of Americans know about Goodable, we feel like we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Very cool. That is a very, very cool metric for sure. Time to get into the nitty. I said nitty gritty twice, but I technically mean the AI tech part of it. So you're not just curating feel-good content. You're using AI to personalize and optimize it for emotional well-being. That's a really fascinating space. How exactly does Goodable's tech determine what's uplifting for one person versus another?
This is a great question. I'm glad you asked. Because what's good for me may not be what's good for you.
Yeah.
And the best example of this is what is America right now, because America is like divided right down the middle, right? If comes out and says, hey, I'm forgiving student loans, half of America is going to say this is great.
Yeah.
Or look at the tariff example, right? Half of America is going to say tariffs are the best thing in the world, and the other half is going to say it's the worst thing in the world. So how do you decide what's good? We actually don't. And so what we do is we actually look at the effect of the words and the images that they have on your brain. So if you're reading something and the text of what you're reading has a lot of positive imagery. So for example, words like happy, joy, ecstatic, balloons, flowers, celebration, When your brain sees those words, it creates a reaction in your brain that tells you this is something positive versus negative words.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we don't make any value judgments and say, oh, well, what does is good or bad. No, we look at the text of what you're writing. And based on that, the way that you process those words has an effect on your brain. And so we've trained our AI to look at the positivity of the content itself rather than like the editorial position of that thing. So it became very successful. It was very hard in the beginning, but our algorithms are about 99.4% accurate. The other thing that we do is we just avoid anything that's controversial. So if you come to Goodable and you want to see a story about, like, you know, unfortunately the latest tragedy in some part of the world, you probably won't see it. What you will see is a lot of content that programs your brain to be positive and that delivers what's known as health and wellness outcomes. So for example, like we can reduce anxiety, we can reduce depression, and improve your mood almost instantly. So that's a very high level overview of how the AI works, is that it's not about deciding what's good or not. It's more about deciding what's healthy for you to consume.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Like
if we were called like Healthify, if our company was called Healthify, we wouldn't get this question. But because we're Goodable, understandably people say like, oh, so what's good? And it's like, well, actually, I think what if we change our name sometimes? Like we just call it like Healthy Feeds or something. I don't know. But Goodable feels so like
it makes sense.
I like it.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that name, I was like, the company has to be called Goodable.
Yeah.
It's just, you just know, right?
Yeah. What would your keyword be, do you think? Like the one that would bring you positive sentiment to your brain?
I don't know if there is one.
I think mine would be cats.
Cats? Yeah, that's fair.
Cat, kitten.
A kitten, yeah.
Something like that.
Because I've been around some mean cats in my day, but kittens, I've never met a mean kitten before.
Wait, I saw something actually about seeing cute animals before you start work or at the office.
Yeah.
It does actually kickstart your brain into
So
being in a great productive mood.
Scientifically, actually, pandas and
Pandas make sense.
Koalas. They've done studies on this that show that pandas and koalas, if you just watch 30 seconds of a panda video, you'll be in a good mood.
What?
I don't know why it's only pandas and koalas, but it is.
But there was that huge that huge panda trend ages ago. There was, oh my god, I think it was the baby panda that was born in China, and she suddenly was like on Instagram. Everyone was saying she was so cute, and she went viral. It was similar to like the Moodeng thing, and it was viral. People were doing, I don't know, makeup get ready with me is based off of the panda. Yeah. And I think maybe it's because of that, like it's not just oh, it's so cute. It brings actual, warmth to your heart.
I think it
changes your day completely.
There's also studies that show if you have depression, one of the things that therapists will recommend, there are a lot of things that they do, a lot of tools, but one of them is to have nice smelling candles at home, because a nice smell puts you in a good mood. Also, they say buy flowers. If you have flowers in your home, just seeing those colors on the flowers will actually put you in a good mood.
I agree with this wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I hope my husband is listening to this podcast and taking this advice, because I say this almost every other week. Yeah. It's the pop of color that just makes your home feel like it's well put.
Yeah. And so like there's just, we know that like just looking at flowers can put you in a good mood. And what's funny is like every screen in the world can have flowers on them. Like in America, they have this holiday called Thanksgiving. The most watched channel during Thanksgiving is called the Fireplace channel. And it literally just shows a fireplace on your screen. But it's the most watched channel because people just, if you see a fireplace on a TV, you will feel warm. It could be a cold day, but you see the fireplace on that TV, you go near it and you'll feel like, oh, I feel warm when I'm near this TV. It's this weird like brain thing that happens, right? So I think just like positive colors and content. But in terms of like a word that I would have, I don't know if I'd have one. I'm a very hard person to make happy.
Really?
Yeah. I'm very like
maybe not one. No.
I'm very even keeled. I don't go through extreme highs and I don't go through extreme lows. I'm very just kind of in the middle all the time. And it saved my life. Because if I was somebody who panicked or freaked out, I don't think I'd still be alive.
Very interesting. I would have.
I think you don't know until like you're in
It's
that position, right? You
yeah.
don't. I think you learn a lot about yourself when
But
your life is at risk.
I also do feel maybe your brain has prepared you for. It could just be that your brain kind of saw all of this horror and kind of prepared you in advance. Like you got to a zen place, a calm place.
Yeah, I have a belief, is in Islam, we have a belief that when it's your time, and nothing will change that.
Yeah.
I've had people die in my arms. I've had best friends die of cancer. And it was their time. And I think when you die, that's not the end. There's something else afterwards.
Yeah.
Whatever religion or belief you have, most people say believe there's something else afterwards. And I believe in my heart that whatever's afterwards has to be better than what's here. So I don't think there's any point, fearing it or lamenting it. And maybe that's why I was calm, because I was like, oh, all right, let's see what this next phase is all about, But yeah, I'm just very calm all the time.
But I find it not the word's not cool. It's admirable. Yeah.
I
also it's just strong faith, which is amazing, and it's something you need to have. I like this question, and I actually have been thinking about it since I kind of read all of our questions, and I'm very curious. What is your take on responsible AI when your mission is so deeply human?
I think we're living in a world where there will be multiple competing AIs on everything. And so OpenAI was just the beginning. Now you have Grok and Perplexity and all these other things that are coming out. I don't think there won't be one AI, right? I think just referring to AI is like, oh, well, AI does this or this. No, it's like it's been trained for a specific purpose. It's a tool.
Yeah.
And it's what goes into that tool that will tell you what that tool does. I don't have an answer for like what's responsible AI. I hope AI doesn't become a source of truth for us, but I think it eventually will. But I think the danger is that we're heading to what's called a post-truth world. So we had the Enlightenment, post-Enlightenment, industrialization, post-industrial world, all of those things. And the next phase that we're in now is the post-truth world, which is that either there won't be any truth or there will just be multiple truths that all have to be treated as equal. And I think that's very dangerous because the deciding factor for human beings has always been, if you see it with your own eyes, then you knew it happened, right? Yeah. So, hey, I saw somebody steal your bike. I knew it happened because I saw it with my own eyes. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, it's not true. It could have happened, maybe not. But what happens when you can no longer trust your eyes? Like, what happens then? What's the criteria for truth? And I don't know the answer to that. And I find it terrifying. Like, where does humanity go when there's no more truth? Or there's no more criteria that's accepted for truth? And I don't know the answer to that, but it's just scary as hell for me.
And if we're going, we already kind of got a bit raw in terms of Goodable behind the scenes. Was there ever a point for you where you thought, okay, this isn't going to work?
Yeah, every day. Every day. I wake up every morning questioning, what the hell am I doing? Is this thing going to work? Not a day has gone by in my life where I haven't asked myself that question. I'm obsessed with that question. There are days where I thought about giving up. I was like, man, like I'd be making more money. I was being paid very well in my previous jobs. And I gave it all up to follow this dream. And I think that thought enters a founder's mind all the time. Am I doing the right thing? Is this going to work? And I just keep coming back to, I believe that when you put good in the world, it multiplies.
Yeah.
And the good comes back to you. And I've seen this so many times in my life where, you give away some money and the next day you get double in return somehow from some strange thing, and all of a sudden you have more than what you thought. And I believe very deeply in karma.
Same.
That when you put good out in the world, it comes back to you. And so I don't know if Goodable is going to be successful. I don't know if, you know, we're going to become $1 billion company. I hope we will, and we're going to bust our asses trying. But what I do know is that the amount of good that we've put in the world is going to pay it back somehow. However that is, I don't know yet, but it will happen.
I think it'll pay it back tenfold.
Hope so.
I hope so.
Hope
and
so.
I'll knock on wood for you. What are your next steps? But just to get into a bit more, Goodable has 2 products. You've got the app and the API. While the app offers a personal gateway to feel-good content, it's the API that's truly scaling. That's what allows Goodable to reach hundreds of millions of people each month. It powers other platforms with uplifting news at scale. Can you talk us through how you decided to pivot toward the API and what that journey taught you about listening to users?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a really good founder-centric question too, because we launched a consumer mobile app and we thought that was going to be our moneymaker.
Yeah.
Consumer mobile apps are, they're easier to make now than ever before because of all these tools that you can make them. But scaling them and generating revenue is a time-consuming process. So typically the way that people launch a mobile app is they just go viral all the time and people download the app, or they spend a lot of money on like advertising to advertise on TikTok or Instagram, and then you get growth. But in both cases, it requires time to build that user base. So we love the app. We just shipped our biggest app update ever, I think last week or the week before. We're really happy with it, and users love it. But what ended up happening was, like, as we were selling the app, we started getting inbound emails from CEOs of really big companies. So I can't share all the names. I mean, Yahoo, we have a partnership with, so everybody knows. But that started when the CEO of Yahoo like DM'd me or something. And he basically said, look, we love what you do. Is there a way we can integrate your technology with our platform? And they weren't asking about the app. They weren't saying, can we just start using your app? We thought they would. Like, we thought we would follow the Headspace model, which was sell the app to like large organizations and we'll give you bulk licenses or subscriptions and your staff can use it. That wasn't happening. But what was happening was that all these CEOs from big name companies were reaching out to me personally saying, Muhammad, we love Goodable. Can we integrate your technology into our platform? So that's when we realized, hey, that's where the market demand is. And we built the API originally to power our app. We thought that by powering, like we built it as an internal tool. And then we realized actually we can just modify the API so that we can serve content to any screen rather than just our own platform. And it was when we started seeing indications of that's what we call product market fit or like market demand that we made that pivot. And it was the right pivot because we could spend all of our money and energy getting people to come to us, or we could use our API to go to them. It's much better to go to people where they are. And if you look at Calm and Headspace that we consider our biggest competitors, you have to go to their platform. If you want to use Calm or Headspace as an app, you have to use their app. We sat back and we said, well, what if you could put Calm content anywhere? On the screens in your gym, on another platform. What would be the difference in the market size if you could go after any screen anywhere in the world? And that, when we looked at that, we're like, obviously we have to pivot towards the API because it makes so much more sense. And that's our main focus now. Okay.
And that's kind of what's next for when it comes to partnerships and market. Is that what you're looking at?
So I think Hub71 announced this when it came out, but we have a really great, fun, healthy relationship with Yahoo that we're looking to expand. And they want to expand it too, which is great. But because of that, we had so many people reach out to us. Almost every major media network wants to partner with us somehow. But now we're talking to like lifestyle apps and wellness apps and social media platforms about how they can use our API to create healthier content feeds for their users. So that's what's next. And it's exciting because I don't know where that ends. There's so many potential customers out there, right? That like if we were just going after media companies, it's limited, but we're going after anyone. And it's really exciting for us.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's very exciting. Now, before we close, I want to do a little exercise.
Okay.
We're just going to do some chill, quick fire questions. What is a piece of news that recently made you smile?
Made me smile. It's not recent, but Australia has a football league, which is like kind of like rugby, I think. I don't really fully understand, but it's big in Australia.
Yeah. Is the ball like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
like
then
it's
it's
like a mix
rugby.
of rugby and American football or something.
Yeah.
But when the team won, they had a water boy who has Down syndrome. He was watching from the stands. So the team won, and the captain actually went into the stands to pull the water boy over so he could celebrate on the stage. And the look on that young boy's face was just, I think people who have Down syndrome are amazing people because their emotion is so genuine and so sincere. Like they don't have a malicious bone in their body, right? And when you look at the smile on that person's face when he realizes he gets to celebrate with the team, I smile every time I think about that because it's just beautiful.
Yeah. A founder or creator you admire for building with heart.
You said a founder or
creator.
Or creator. I mean, there's a lot. I have founders that I look up to. I'm going to go old school and be honest and vulnerable and say the Prophet Muhammad is the greatest founder that I could ever strive to be like. I think for what we do as founders is a small speck of dust compared to what he had to go through. And you talk about people changing the world. Probably nobody in history changed the world more than him. So he's the ideal. I think he's the ideal that most of us fall way short of coming close to.
Yeah, that was not. I really appreciate that you kind of didn't go for something that's like way too tech related, in the sense that you.
I think that makes me a bad tech founder, though, right?
I think no.
No, because like you're supposed to have an answer like, oh well, it's Elon Musk or it's like Jeff Bezos or whatever.
No, I just think you are a founder that builds with heart.
Maybe I think it's also like I'm not only a founder. I think we're all human beings before anything else.
Yes.
And so we should look up to people who make us the best human beings, not the best founders or the best company builders. That's part of it. But who makes you a better human being? Those are the people that should be our role models. And for me, it comes from a specific religious tradition, but it could be for other people, it could be anything, right? Man, I love when people say Jesus is my role model. Dude, like that's amazing. What a great guy to be a role model, Would you rather follow like JC or would you rather follow like Elon, right? Like, I don't know. And that's not a knock against Elon, but I think we need to be like, we're all human beings first.
Yes.
And people that make you better human beings are more important than anything else.
One habit that keeps you grounded?
Tea. Yeah, I'm a tea snob. I drink tea every day. I've been drinking tea every day of my life for the past maybe 25 years. And it's the simplest drink in the world other than water.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Right? It's just a leaf and water is tea. And it's so humble and wholesome and grounding.
Any tea flavor in particular?
I drink my tea a very specific way. So I drink like sort of like Indian style tea, which is sometimes called karak chai. Sometimes it's called masala chai or doodh patti. But basically like you boil the milk and the water together.
Okay.
And sometimes you add a bit of spices. But when the English way, I don't understand how that's tea. It's boiled water and then you add a little bit of milk. It's got to be half and half for me. It's got to be creamy. And it's got to be so hot that you can't drink it right away. You've got to kind of like leave it at the table. It takes
you have like a whole setup.
Yeah, I think like I said, I'm a tea snob, and it's just a very wholesome experience for me to just sit and like I don't meditate, but that would be my meditation is drinking tea.
Fair. I'm not a coffee snob. I think reading quite a lot keeps me grounded.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I enjoy
wish I had
fiction.
more time. Like I envy people who have time to read. I think because of my background in my career, like I was the one that was writing stuff that other people read. So because of that, I didn't read enough.
Yeah.
But man, if I ever retire, there's all these books that I just want to read. Like I'm just going to read one book a week.
It's always good to, I think, carve that time out.
Yeah.
So no, this time is for me. for reading, for working out, for whatever.
I'm envious of founders or anybody who can do this. I just feel like I don't have enough time during the day to get anything done. And so one day, inshallah.
Now, as we're closing, let's keep it raw and honest. No sugarcoating. To be fair, we've been very raw and honest this episode, which I'm really happy about. What is one hard truth about purpose-driven entrepreneurship you wish more people knew?
I get approached all the time. Not all the time. I get approached very often by people who have an idea. It's hard to hear, but ideas are a dime a dozen. An idea to change the world is honestly a dime a dozen. And honestly, somebody else probably thought of the idea before you did. What matters is how relentless you can be in the execution of it. That's the hard part. Coming up with the idea is easy. Somebody can say, oh, I want to build rockets that go to Mars. Why Mars? Why not Mars? I want to build the first rocket that travels at light speed. What an amazing vision. But actually executing that is what matters. And that's really, really hard. And if you just stay in the game long enough, something good will happen. The secret is just survive for as long as you can. It's like Hunger Games, you know? Like, I would be the guy that wore the camouflage and hid somewhere and like just survive, just out survive everybody. And I feel like startups are kind of like that too, right? It's just,
I'm now imagining like our cohorts as like the Hunger Games. Like,
I wouldn't attack anybody. I wouldn't be one of those guys that went on the offense. I would just like bury myself under like, you know, some soil and just stuff that I could breathe, and I'm going to out survive everybody. But I think for startups, you just have to survive. If you just stay in the game long enough, something good will happen. And the hard part is staying alive.
And lastly, where can people find Goodable? How can they support what you're doing?
So we'd love if they tried the app. Just go to www.goodable.app. Good and able, it's one word, and then .app. That'll take you to the app store. Download the app. I wish I had a user code where I could just give everybody 50% off right now at this moment, but I don't. But yeah, download the app and then just find us on social media. We're everywhere at Just Goodable. And we'd love for people to try the app and see the difference that inserting some positivity into your life can create for you.
Thank you so much, Muhammad.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to everybody in the crew.
Thank you
for your patience, and this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
It's so nice to just be down to earth, you know? Like we're not, there's no investors in this room, you know, it's just talking, and I really had a good time.
Me too. And thank you so much for all the good that you are bringing and spreading into this world, honestly. See you guys on Amplified's next podcast episode. It'll be different people, same vibe. Thank you.
Thank you.